When I thought about who I wanted to have on the podcast recently, I've been doing a deep dive into a lot of people's different social media and just checking out what people are doing. And one person that just keeps showing up on my socials at the moment is you, MG. So thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And I'm very glad that I am popping up on your socials. It's definitely intentional.
Yeah, but I think it's well, like why it should keep showing up is obviously because I keep clicking on it, but like, but I think there's also an element of like you are showing up and doing the work and you're, intentionally sharing authentically. And I think that that really resonates with me. Like when I think about people that I love to have share more on the podcast, it's definitely that authenticity piece and that shines through on your social media. So I just want to acknowledge you for that to begin with, because I feel like it's one of the hardest things for people to do is actually really truly share that authenticity piece. But also, do you feel like I'd love to just jump straight in? Do you feel like that's been a bit of a journey for you? Is it something that came naturally from the beginning, or do you feel like you really had to cultivate that?
No, it's something that came naturally. And it's interesting because a lot of people share that with me about me and say, like, we love how you share authentically. If I go back to, high school and even primary school, I've always been an oversharer. I think what I've had to learn is that it's okay.
Yeah.
And to not then beat myself up about it afterwards because back in high school and primary school social media didn't even exist, and so you'd overshare and then I would just go home and like think about the conversation, be like, oh my gosh, why did I tell people that, why did I say that, what are they thinking about me, all that kind of thing. So there's been a real mindset shift, not necessarily a strategy shift, more of a, okay, once I've shared that, it's okay to kind of just go through the motion of going, if people don't like me for what I've said, then it's okay. Not everyone needs to like me, and not everyone does. And I am okay with that now. That's been the work I've had to do. But also learning how to communicate it effectively has been another skill I've had to learn as well, because there are certainly ways to, like, we have thoughts in our head that we probably shouldn't say out loud on our public platform, right?
Yeah.
Like, and we're all human, so we all do have those thoughts, but we also do need to remember that we have a personal brand or we have a brand, and you still want to communicate it in an effective way. So I know, like, if I go back to when I was about 19, 20 and I was vegan, and I went into like McDonald's and I told everyone that they were eating rotting carcasses.
Oh my God.
I
Love
was
it.
one of those. I lost friends. Surprise, surprise. And, like I can now see that it's okay for me to authentically share myself in a way that makes sure that people know it's okay if they don't agree.
Yes, so good. And you don't lose friendships over that. They can absolutely have differing of opinions and still have discussions and still be connected.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. And it's really that level of acceptance and welcoming other people's uniqueness as well, right? It's like allowing that you can have a different opinion. I'm also not going to judge you or cut you out of my life because you have a differing opinion.
Exactly. Yes. Not a
Yeah.
vegan anymore, by the way. I love a Big Mac.
Love a bit of rotting carcass.
Well, I think you should be allowed to change your mind as you grow and evolve and you change. And I think that's an important thing too that I share authentically is like, this is my opinion today. This is what I'm experiencing today. This is what I think today. But in a year from now, I reserve the right to change my mind because I'm always growing and learning.
I absolutely love that because I think it's one of those things that really prevents people, or the perfectionism piece that comes into play. They really prevents people from showing up authentically because they're like, oh, but what if I do change my mind? What if I get it wrong? Or what if people judge me? Like there's so much hesitation with it. So I love that you're giving yourself that level of permission and also educating your people to also have that level of permission for themselves. That's so good.
Yeah, thank you.
I love it. So what can you take us back to the beginning of your business? What made you start your business? Why did you get into business?
I think I was always entrepreneurial minded. Is that a word? It's a word now. I was always kind of wanting to hustle and do my own thing. I never fit into the box at school, but then I somehow ended up a primary school teacher. And I know it's quite ironic. The reason I ended up there was because I thought, amazing, I get holidays. I also get to help. I love helping people. And I thought, what a great way to do that. So that's how I ended up primary school teaching, but then very quickly realized I do not fit into the right box for a government job. But I'm now stuck here until I had babies and I got maternity leave from both the government and from, well, double dipped really, government and Department of Education. I thought I could use this time to do something else. And so when my daughter was about 6 weeks old, my eldest, was when I started my first business. And it was a personal training business because I love fitness. And I thought, right, I'll just do what I love, right? I'll do fitness. So quickly realized that unless you own a massive gym, in fitness. As a PT, you do not earn very much money. Like after the first year, I was like, oh my gosh, I've paid myself less than minimum wage. So I added on mindset coaching and went and studied neuro-linguistic programming and hypnosis because I mean most people are aware that when you are doing fitness, you're really doing it because you want to love yourself more rather than but we tell ourselves it's because we want the six pack or whatever. I mean, who actually has a six pack?
Yeah.
Surely no one that's happy, right? No, I shouldn't say that because I'm sure there are some happy people with six packs, but I'm like, I like cheese and wine too much. And so added on the mindset coaching, realized very quickly that that was a massive growing industry. And we moved around a lot. So I went online, grew that really quickly. And then people started coming to me and saying, hey, how did you grow this quickly? And so I started teaching people naturally. And I realized I woke up one day and I was like, huh, my clients are all wanting my help with their business. And my original degree is actually a business degree in marketing, but I rejected it because I felt like my first job I got, which everyone said was a dream job as a marketing assistant for a big travel company in New Zealand, I felt like I was just manipulating people with
Oh,
marketing. It didn't feel authentic. But then I realized actually I've learned this marketing, I've put it into my business, and I'm able to show people how to do it themselves really simply without overcomplicating it. And it kind of comes naturally to me. Maybe I was born with the gift of the gab. Maybe it's just because I'm ADHD. Like I when I studied marketing at university, I was like, this is so easy. Like
right.
you literally just bullshit your way through everything.
It's so
I
funny.
spent most of university drunk because I was like, it's so easy. Whereas if you had have got me trying to do like, I don't know, biology, but it's and now I know it's because I wasn't interested in it. If I'm interested in
Yeah.
something, I find it really easy and I love it and I thrive. So now what I do is all marketing, and in the last few years have added on AI because one of the biggest issues that I see is that people, they don't really have the capacity to do all the marketing, but you need to do marketing. If you don't do marketing, no matter what your business is, your business will not exist. And so therefore, you've got to do it. But AI has made it so much easier if you know how to do it well. So now my blend is AI and marketing. There is always mindset stuff that comes up, but to be honest, I outsource most of that now because I really want to focus on marketing and AI and making marketing easier, more streamlined, and getting people using AI well, because that is one of my bugbears.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, we're going to talk so much about this. Okay, so good. So I would imagine as well, like with there's so much that I want to dive into here. So obviously running a PT business also, sometimes we go in with the intention like, oh my God, you're going to run your own business, you're going to have your own time. But PT, like they work so hard. They get up so early in the morning and they work late. Like it does not sound like a desirable business to me at all.
And I have a history of insomnia.
Oh
So,
man.
because this was like my ADHD journey, right? Like I first had anger when I was a kid, and then it turned into anxiety, and then it turned into insomnia, and then it was like this. And now I know it was all just undiagnosed ADHD. But like I was had clients that wanted 5 a.m. sessions, and I was like, so I have to get up at 4:30 and I don't sleep. I mean, I
Yeah.
do sleep, but if I know I have to wake up at 4:30, I don't
Oh,
sleep.
I'm the same. I'm the same. Yeah, it's horrible.
So it was bad. And then I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to have all this extra time because I'll just have, morning and afternoon sessions. But then it meant I never saw my husband because
Mm.
I was working before school and after school. He's in education. That's how we met. And so it was like, you think the grass is greener. You think it's going to be ideal. I've had that many times in business where you're like, oh, that looks good. I should do that. And then you get into it and you're like, what am I doing?
100%. And I feel like as well, there's an element there around that we get into business because we want to have an element of freedom, right?
Yes,
But
absolutely.
and so what do you find now with the way that you run your business? How do you support yourself with creating that freedom?
Using AI. I've just dropped that in there so many times because really it has been the answer to so many of my problems. Okay, to be honest, this year I cleared up so much time because of streamlining things with AI that I started a whole new business with a business partner.
Mm.
Lasted 6 months, and I was like, what am I doing? I don't want to fill my time with more business. So I exited that business and it actually worked out to be one of the best things ever. She is thriving. I'm so happy to refer people to that business. It's great. But I also had that thing like, I've only given this 6 months. I really should be giving this more time. But realistically, as you say, I went into this for freedom and I realized that the business I have created with my own personal brand is something that gives me so much freedom. And what do I want to use that time for? My kids are 9 and 7. I've probably got 2 more years with my 9-year-old before she's like, I don't want to hang out with you in the school holidays. And I am not prepared to waste that time because I get that time with them if I choose it. And that's really what I want to do more of. But I also need to be so mindful because I know what my energy is like. I'm like, oh, I could do this because there's so many things I can do, but I really have to be mindful of going, but is that really the vision?
Mm.
Like I can do it, but is that what really lights me up? Because it might light me up for like 2 weeks. And then I'm like, no, no, that's not it. And I always bring it back to what I do now, which is really coaching and educate and consult around marketing and AI. And I don't do any done for you because I've done it and I don't like it.
Yeah, love it. But you have to go through that, right, to figure that out. You definitely have that stages in your business where you actually have to say yes to some things to actually figure out what you don't like and you don't want to do. But I love that
Exactly.
you're having that intentional focus around like, but hang on a minute, even though I can do it, should I do it? And do I really want to do it? Because you're so right. It's so easy just to fill your days with more stuff
Yeah.
and busy stuff, even that you actually, because I think sometimes when we create that freedom, we just don't, if we've not set intentions around how we're going to use that freedom, it just gets filled with stuff. Like I remember a couple of years ago, I was like, I'd set aside like 2 or 3 weeks in the middle of the year to take a break. And
Mhm.
I had been working my butt off for like a couple of years in business and have intentionally, like I'm growing it, right? So I needed to put that work in. And so I had set aside 3 weeks in the middle of the year and I got to that 3 weeks, but I hadn't booked anything. And so what
Yes.
did I do? I end up working. And then I
Yeah.
got to the end of that 3 weeks and I was like, oh my God, like you just filled that week with stuff.
Yeah.
You did not need to do that. And so now I feel like I've really learned how to intentionally, like now I make sure that I book stuff and make sure that I
Mm.
actually, pay for things so then I have to show up and do them.
Yes.
Because then it challenges me to actually put myself in the spaces that I really want to be in. So my life is filled with stuff that fulfills me rather than it just be work.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more with that. I'm exactly the same. If I don't actually have something intentional booked in that's not work,
Mm.
like a silent retreat, I did one, oh my gosh, it was like 2 years ago now. So I probably should do another one. But that was one of the hardest things I have ever done. And it is probably the only time in however many years, what's it, 9 years that I've been in business, that I have actually not done anything to do with work. And even my brain, it was amazing. I didn't think about work very much. I thought about how hard it was to not talk and like it just, there was a lot of internal chatter, but I didn't even think about work in those 4 days, which blows my mind because
Yeah, you would
I
think it would
can't
give
stop
you
now.
clarity to then have all the ideas come through. Like I would just want to get a pen and paper and get all the ideas out of my head, but maybe you
Yep.
just needed that full rest and recharge and disconnect.
Well, we weren't even allowed to like have a book or write anything. Like there was nothing. It was
Wow.
absolute nothingness.
Wow.
So yeah,
That's
even if you
intense.
did, there was nothing.
Wow, full on,
Mm.
amazing. And so now, how do you spend your days? Like, obviously, that's what you do, but like, how does your week look? Can you give me an idea of what your week looks like now?
You know what? It's so varied. It's interesting because one of the things I do with my clients before I work with them is I get them to do a time audit and kind of look at and I tell them to do it in a normal week. And if someone's listening on the podcast, they won't see me putting that in inverted commas. A normal week. And what does a normal week look like? And yet I don't really have a normal week. I do try my best to have certain days of the week where I do and don't do things. Like I set some boundaries, like a Monday, for example. I don't have any calls on a Monday because I like to have that space free so that I can get myself ready for the week. So I'm not thinking about it on Sunday. So
Mm.
Monday is my CEO day, and that always looks different. It might be that I do have some work that I want to catch up on and it's working in my business. Or it might be a day where I go and sit at a cafe and I like, because I like a new environment and a new environment opens up ideas and it's an ideation kind of day. But each week I kind of get to choose what that looks like. And then I aim to have all of my group calls on a Tuesday. And then throughout the rest of the week, there's always a lot of space. And I like to keep a lot of space because I find that if I can't really work 8 hour days, my energy just doesn't, I just can't focus for that long. And that's okay. I've learned that I can do bursts. I can get 4 hours work done in 20 minutes if I'm actively, and again, that's an ADHD superpower, right? But like, I'm just like, right, I'm going to get this done, and I will get it done in such a short amount of time. And then I might literally just sit on the couch for an hour and be like, cool, I could doom scroll right now, or and not judge myself about it because I just got all of those things done in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of travel. So this year I have spent, I think so far, 65, 70 days traveling, which for a mum with young kids and a husband that works full time is quite a lot. And I know there's certainly people I have received judgment about that, particularly from people that are not uh, business people, like mums, like, oh, I've never spent a day away from my child. I'm like, man, that sucks.
Hmm.
In a decade, you need time to yourself. But I actually do that really intentionally. I plan it out ahead of time so that there's big spaces in between. I'm not away for 2 months at a time, it's maybe maximum 8 days.
Yeah.
But I need that because that energetically gives me so much um, inspiration, motivation, and space when I'm like, I can actually work 8 hours a day when I'm away because it doesn't have to be 8 hours straight while, the kids are out of the house. It can be like 4 hours in the morning and 4 hours in the evening, and then I go and have fun all afternoon. So I intentionally book probably at least every quarter, at least a week away. So that, and it doesn't have to be anything in particular. Like it doesn't have to be a retreat. It's just like I am booking an Airbnb. When I went to Brisbane Gold Coast, I was only there for one event, but I booked 8 days because I'm like, that spaciousness is going to give me so much. So yeah, week to week, it looks very different because and I like that. I guess I love that I be able to create that for myself.
I'm the same. I love the variety that business gives you. And I think that's why I left corporate because I was like, it was so mundane and boring every
Mhm.
single day that I was like, I need some challenge. I need something different. And so
Yes.
being able to then cultivate your own calendar and schedule
Mhm.
and what that looks like is the best. And it's one of my favorite things about business.
Absolutely. Like yesterday, we had a long lunch event here in Perth where like 300 businesswomen go to this event, and I was just so excited that I got to go to that. There's no way if I was working in my marketing role or my teaching role that I was going to be able to from 11 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. sit down, drink wine, eat delicious food with a bunch of awesome women and just like have a laugh. I'm actually surprised that I still have a voice today
Yeah.
after that because you can imagine a room full of 300 women. It was so loud. And by the time I left, I was like, gosh, I can barely speak.
Yeah, wow. It would have been so loud, I can imagine.
Mm.
So let's dive into a little bit of AI, and then I want to definitely chat about your book. So talk me through what inspired you to explore the AI machine.
So I didn't even know what AI stood for a couple of years ago. And so when people at the moment, if you go into that Facebook group that everyone knows, like-minded bitches drinking wine, and someone mentions I get bombarded with tags. I've become someone who people look to for AI, particularly for women in business. And yet I have gone through a bit of a journey in this last year of going, am I actually an expert in this? I'm starting to recognize that maybe I am, even though I don't have a, degree in data science or I don't know coding. But I think what really got me interested in this was seeing two things happen at once. The first thing was at the point that it started becoming really popular, the economy was starting to fail. And so it kind of was happening simultaneously, where everyone was starting to really struggle. So this was kind of the beginning of the economic crisis. All businesses were starting to really struggle, and AI was taking off. And at the time, they didn't really seem related. Maybe there is some kind of, relation there, but I wondered, is it possible that AI could be the solution to that problem? And is it possible that AI could be the solution to many problems? And oh my gosh, I can see it being the solution to so many systemic issues in the world. And that goes beyond business. But I ask a lot of questions, and I was going through a bit of a shift in my business because I had a high ticket mastermind, and I had less and less people wanting to pay high ticket. And there are still people, that want to go in there. But I was like, how can I support people? I'll have my high ticket offer, but also have a lower ticket offer, but not drain the shit out of myself because I have done that before. I had a $27 membership back in the day. And oh my God, like I got up to 100 members and I was like, that's still only $2,700 a month. And I'm putting so much energy into this. But with AI, everything is scalable, everything is so much easier, everything can be personalized, and you can run those low cost options without so much of your energy. So I was like, this could be a really great solution. What if I do this in my business and then see if I can, show other people how to do it? So I did. I burnt down half of my business to create space. So I literally got rid of one of my high ticket masterminds. So I had like my one-to-one, which was high ticket, but then my high ticket mastermind, I just went, right, canceling that. So that literally took out half of my income so that I had the space to learn because I knew I had quite a learning curve ahead of me. And at the same time, I launched this low ticket membership. All of those people went into that, but of course, they went from paying like $700 a month to $97 a month. So, that was a massive risk. But what I wanted to do was create a coaching bot. So all of the resources that I had grown over time, I wanted this bot to be trained on all of those resources so that these people had access to 24/7 coaching based on the entire knowledge base that I have created through my IP. And I spent a lot of money and time on that bot, which now could be made within about 30 minutes for
Wow.
free. But I learned a lot in the process. I learned because what I had to learn was really a lot more in depth than the way you build a bot now. I now understand deeply how those processes work from the back end. I don't know coding. I know nothing about coding, but I do know that you can set these up now in a way that is incredibly powerful, and it doesn't remove the need for coaches. But what it means is that we can do more one-to-one, or we can do more high ticket with the right people and then still serve more people at a lower level if they aren't ready for that higher ticket. But then they get to trust you, right? They're like, oh my gosh, all of this information that comes from Christine, or that comes from MG, or whoever has created Spot, that's the knowledge base. And now I want to work with them because I've gotten so much out of it for this price point. And imagine like you get to then with your one-to-one coaching have even higher level discussions because all those low level discussions happen with the bot.
Mm.
So created that. That was super cool. Then got rid of that bot because I was able to make it for free, and the upkeep was a lot easier without the crazy big one that we made that cost a fortune. And yeah, that was kind of where I went with it. And now because I've learned so much and I love educating, I teach people how to implement their own AI bots, AI systems, workflows, everything into their business because it doesn't matter what kind of business you have. Like I used to just work with online service-based businesses, but now, I'm working with a dental hygienist, like bricks and mortar, lots of bricks and mortar stores because everybody has processes and everybody needs marketing.
Yeah.
And that's what AI helps with. And so I'm loving working with like different types of businesses too, because I'm learning that helps my ADHD as well. Cause I'm like, oh, different things that aren't like not just website builders, or because a lot of online service based, they end up doing kind of like the same stuff. And I'm like, oh, I get to work with a jewelry store. This is fun. Oh, maybe, and I end up buying frigging pearls from them, like just spending all the money I'm making, but it's fun.
And it's got to be fun, right? Like that's the best part about business. You get to explore and learn and grow. And I love that you became so obsessed with it. And everything you were just sharing kind of made me feel like there's this element of like those early adopters that become then the experts because you were willing to sacrifice that time and energy to learn it and implement it at the early stages and adopt it. Like even when you think back to when websites became a thing, they were super expensive. To have a website, you were spending $20,000 to $30,000 to get a website built. Whereas now you don't have to spend much at all to
Well, you can
actually have
actually get AI to build websites. They're
a
not great yet, to be honest. And that's one of the things that I will say is that there's a lot of things about AI that you're like, yeah, it can do it, but it's still definitely better to get someone to do it for you. But
yeah, yeah. So can you talk more about that? So what are you noticing that the AI is doing really well compared to things that you're still finding that it's really important that you personalize?
I think AI can do a lot of things really well. Like it can do image generation well, text generation well. It can do website generation well. But the only way it does it well is if you have someone who knows how to use it well and someone who knows how to edit it.
Mm.
because AI is not going to do everything, thank God, because we need humans, right? We still need a human touch. The way I look at it is that it takes out 90% of the grunt work, and then you still need a human who knows what they're doing to make sure that the grunt work that went in is right and accurate and doesn't look like AI. So this is why I blend AI with marketing, because there's a lot of people that teach AI who don't have the marketing background. And the problem is then if you create marketing messaging with AI and you don't have a marketing background, how do you look at the output and know, oof, that's not right for marketing. That's not going to pack a punch. That's not going to stop the scroll. That's not the messaging or the ideal client we want. You need to actually understand those things. So humans aren't going to be out of a job. Humans just need to be using AI in a way that makes their work more productive or easier, but also to actually use it for just having the creative juices flowing. This is what I love about it is I now get to focus on my magic with my marketing. It helps me to brainstorm ideas. It helps me to refine ideas or come up with new ideas. But then I get to spend my time going, oh, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of this, then a little bit of that. And then I'm going to add some vavoom here. And obviously I'm just putting random words in, but it depends on what you know. And so this is why we still need copywriters, because copywriters can look at the text and go, okay, cool, that's a great sentence, but it's really freaking obvious that ChatGPT wrote it. So what are the elements of that that you like? And how can we make that into a brand voice that's unique to you? Because copywriters understand the words behind it. And so really, I can't even remember what the question was about this. What does it do well? It can do everything well, but it needs the human element still. Probably the one thing that it can do well without humans once it's set up is workflows. So we've all, I mean, even before ChatGPT, we would be using Zapier, right? Whether you say Zapier, yeah. That kind of thing, once it's set up well, should just be able to happen without human interaction, as long as Mercury is not in retrograde and it doesn't get screwed up. But actually, I've noticed Zapier has less errors than human error most of the time. So if you manually, you're going to have more errors than automatically. So that's probably the only thing at this point that I would say, you know, you can kind of like set and almost forget. Whereas everything else needs a human element, and it always has to do with how the human is using it, because most humans don't know how to use it effectively yet.
Yeah. So I'd love you to share, like, what are you noticing for people that you're helping, the ones that are adopting it, right? Where are they getting stuck, or what are the biggest challenges or barriers that they're having that show up that prevent them from actually using it well?
The number one thing is that people are treating it like a robot when you need to treat it like a human, which there's like psychological things behind this, right?
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, but it is a robot. I don't know if you're getting this now, but sometimes when people message me, they think I might be a bot, so they don't use their manners. Or they
Oh,
don't, it's really like just straight to the point. There's no personal touch to it.
okay.
And that, I mean, that in itself is, there's a whole lot of ethical issues down the line with that. But if you want AI to do something the way you want it to do it, you need to imagine that it's a human and it needs the same information as a human. So if you go into ChatGPT and you say, I sell candles, write me a post, Instagram post. If you went to a social media manager and said, I sell candles, write me a social media post, what they give you back is going to be crap because they know nothing about your business. So you need to imagine that the AI as a person, it needs all of the information that a person would need to do that well. And then it will do it well. And so I will work with people and they'll go, oh, you know, I've created this bot and it's coming up with this output, which isn't right. And I'm like, have you told it? No, tell it. It's like an employee. Say, hey, you did this really well. Shit sandwich it. Because we talk about that with feedback, right? You go, give them positive feedback, then tell them what was crap, and then finish with something positive. Do that. Imagine they're actually an employee. And if you tell them that, they learn because AI is learning from us all the time. And which is why it has improved. But then it's only going to improve if you tell it how to improve, like an employee. So
Yeah.
that's the number one thing is that people are like, but it's not doing what I want it to do. So tell it, what do
Yeah.
you want it to do? What is it not doing? What do you want it to do? Be specific, like you would with a human.
I think that's where a lot of people just don't have, like, I feel like I've loved it because I guess I'm a coach. I know how to ask really great questions. So
Yes.
that also helps, I feel. And I feel like there's this element of people just not knowing what to ask, right? Like,
Mhm.
it's like the prompts are where people are getting like obsessed with these prompts of like, I have to have the perfect prompt. Well,
Yep.
actually, no, what you're saying is like, don't just expect it to be one prompt. Like, let it be something that it's a journey that you're taking them through to improve every part of it. Yeah? Is that
Yep.
what you're saying?
I don't even do prompting. So prompting is the most basic way of using ChatGPT. I create bots on ChatGPT, which is not hard. Whenever I say this to people that haven't created one, they're like, holy shit, that sounds like it's going to be like intense. I can show you in 20 minutes how to make one. And you would be able to make one in 20 minutes. There's no coding involved. It's literally just give it some information as you would with a prompt, but you put it into the back end of ChatGPT, and then it knows all of your stuff. And you don't have to prompt it again. You don't have to give all the information. You might ask it a question, but it's not so much a prompt. I even have a bot that I've created where you don't write anything. You just hit a button, it researches the internet, it creates content. You hit another button, it creates hooks. And it's not hard to make. And I
So,
mean, if I could show you on a podcast, I would, but I'm just like, prompting is it takes so much time prompting. And this is why people that grab these 500 prompts for whatever, they go, oh my gosh, like who has time for 500 prompts?
no
It's meant
one.
to save us time,
Yeah.
not take us time.
So even if we can simplify it one step further, because you're right, there's definitely people that are listening to this going, but what are you actually talking about? What is a bot and what does it do? Can we just go back to the basics for 1 second? Can you tell us
Yes.
why do we need a bot?
Oh my gosh, because you will save. Like I now have an extra. I've worked it out. Last time I worked it out, it was 10 hours a week. Now it's 15 hours a week, and I work 30 hours a week. So what? There's an extra 6 months in
Yeah,
my year. Like,
crazy.
would you like an 18-month year? Yes, please, because January and December don't even count because I've got kids at home. But okay, let's go back. What is a bot? If you have ChatGPT, which I'm hoping everyone at least has a ChatGPT account, free version doesn't matter, and you go to the left-hand side of ChatGPT, there's a thing that says Explore GPTs, and those are bots. GPTs are bots that have been created on the ChatGPT platform that you can use. So, like Alex Hermosi has one, which, by the way, I've been able to hack and get his entire book because he hasn't coded it right so that no one can hack his knowledge base.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
I I just wanted to test it out because I heard that you could get someone's knowledge base from their bot if you did a certain thing, and I was like, let's see if it works on Alex Hermosi's bot. And it did. So I got his entire book. I already have his book. So like I've already paid for it. Sorry, Alex. But that's what a bot is. You can create your own if you have the paid version, which is $20 a month. And like, I really should be an affiliate because that many people have gone onto the paid version because of what I've shown them. The way I work it out is I'm like, if I pay $20 a month, that's, maybe 30 Australian dollars. And it's saving me, it's giving me an extra 6 months a year. I don't even like it's cents. It's like 0.01 cent that it's costing me per hour of usage, right?
For
So
an employee,
I,
really.
I kind of at multiple employees. Like I've made like I don't know how many I currently have, probably 10. And so what you do is you go into the back end and you create your own GPT. And it sounds complicated, but it's not because all you're doing is putting in the exact same information as you would when you're prompting, but you're putting it into what's called a knowledge base, which means that you don't have to give it that information each time. You just go in and you chat with your bot and it already knows all of your information. So like I have an email marketing bot that has my email marketing strategy, examples of my emails that I've sent in the past. It knows, like the first name codes, that kind of stuff, so that I can just copy and paste it across to what I use and it comes up with the right first name. It has what else have I like it's got my brand voice, it's got like how I want subject lines to be written, all of that kind of stuff in there. So my email marketing is so easy and I can connect the bots too. I love that. Connect the bots. It's like connect the dots. So I have like a bot for a particular product, AI marketing machine. So that bot knows that offer super well, knows it inside out, knows the terms and conditions, knows what's included, helps me with my marketing for that offer. But I can connect those two and be like, okay, now I want you to write an email to my list. So I get the AI marketing machine bot to talk to my email marketing bot. And they do the work together. So they do teamwork without like having the personality clash.
So good. So crazy, isn't it? Like when you put it like that, you're like, holy hell, like what world are we living in?
Yeah. And like it's not I'm able to do this because I understand marketing really well. And so one of the things I do when I teach people this is also teach them about some of the really obvious marketing things they need to consider. Because if you are a plumber, for example, and you implement this and you're looking at the output, you'll go, that's great. But actually, if you're not a marketer, you need to know the things to look at. And so it's one of the lead magnets I'm making soon is like the checklist that you need to go through to make sure that it doesn't look like AI, because there's
Yeah.
basically, like 10 to 15 things that make it super obvious.
And I feel like it's so like in my space, in the coaching space, it has ruined so many words that I would have used religiously. Like it's so
Mhm.
frustrating with like
Yeah.
unlock, reveal, transform,
Unlock.
transformation. Like it's so annoying that I literally can't use those words anymore.
Yeah, I know. I think Unstoppable is probably coming next
Yes, it just
because
it frustrates me. I have a program called Unstoppable.
yeah. Yeah, well, and Unstoppable's been a huge word in my brand personality for a while, and it hasn't been taken with ChatGPT yet, but yeah, unlock, unleash, all of those words. So Unstoppable
Yeah,
will be coming. But you know what? It's also making us start to think more creatively as well.
that's
So,
true.
and the thing is, you can still use those words. You just want to use them more sparingly, and you want to make sure you don't use them all in the same sentence, like unlock the transformative journey and
Yeah.
seize the day. Like then you've got four chat GPT words in one.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the word, it's the sentence structure that chat GPT uses as well. There's a couple of really telltale sentence structures that make it really obvious, and then it overdoes them. Like it will redo that sentence structure 50 times in one sales page that it creates, and you're like, oh my God, calm down.
Yeah. And even the emojis, like that's a
Yeah.
telltale as well. Like I'm just like the rocket ship. I'm like, stop
Oh,
using the
you can't
rocket
use it
ship.
anymore. You
Can't
cannot
use
use
it.
the
It's
rocket ship.
dead. It's dead to me.
It's gone.
It's so
Yeah. So
annoying.
now people are using really unique emojis though, right? Like you'll see like the random ghost emoji or like a pineapple or something that's different and stands out. And that in itself, I think is a good thing, because now we're kind of like we're developing new ways to
Mm.
speak so that we can, and then chat GPT or AI, all AI will start to adapt and go, okay, it's not just the rocket ship emoji. We can start looking at other ways of expressing language.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. So what do you wish people thought about AI?
What do I wish people thought? It's interesting. I appreciate all thoughts about AI. When I was at the long lunch club yesterday, I was sitting next to someone, and I said that I do work in AI, and she's like, "I'm not a fan." And I was like, "I want to know more about like what you're not a fan of," because I obviously am very pro AI, but there's a lot of things that are concerning that we do need to talk about. And everything she said to me, I 100% agree with. However, the outcome she's got from that is I'm not a fan of AI versus what can we do about this?
Mm.
So the first thing she said was it's lack of inclusivity. And I 100% agree, because it's made by white men in Silicon Valley.
Mm.
And so, that is a concern, because now, a lot of decisions worldwide are made using AI. It will eventually be very ingrained in politics. And we do need to think about, okay, well, how do we ensure that the output from this is going to give us a fair result for everyone in the world? Because right now it's not. If you ask ChatGPT to give you quotes about a certain topic, it'll give you quotes from all men, no
Mm.
women.
Just
So when
bullshit.
it does this, I go back to it and I say, hey, half the world are women. Can you please, make that a bit more equal? I'll have half quotes from women, please. And it goes, oh, yeah, sure. So this is what we actually need to be doing, because when we use it, we're training it. So if we as women are using it, and, minorities, every person on the earth has access to it, at least the free version, right? If you've got an internet connection. And so we do need to tell it, hey, that's not fair. Let's look at it from this perspective and give it new perspectives. So that's kind of how I look at that. There's also the fact that, we're losing a lot of people think we're going to lose a lot of personal touch. And I do agree to a sense that there is going to be that lack of connection if we're constantly just interacting with bots. But we also need to look at the flip side of that and go, if it's saving us this much time, because I can see we're already starting to work towards a 4-day work week, right? In a lot of corporate roles, which is super cool. And they're not, it's not that they're getting less money, but they're just being more productive and working 4 days. I can see that rolling out even further because AI is allowing us to be more productive, and meaning that, it's not necessarily that we get paid per hour, but we get paid for an output and however long it takes. That's what my dream is, right? But we need to work towards that. And then we need to use our free time to have more time for connection, because that's what
Okay.
I've been able to do. I now work more one-to-one with people than I did before because I love it. I love the one-to-one opportunity. But, as a coach, we're kind of told, well, if you want to make more money, you need to scale and get away from one-to-one. But instead, what I've done is I've scaled with the things that I can do with AI, and then I have more space for one-to-one because those one-to-many things don't take up so much of my time.
Yeah, I love it.
So it's working, looking at it. We really need to look at things from a different perspective, and it's scary
Yeah. It's
because
the same thing when
it's
the internet started. Like there was always going to be people
yes.
that
Oh
rejected
yeah.
it to begin with, or social media even, oh, it's a fad, like it's not going to go anywhere. Like all of these things that we always have these differing of opinions and people don't like change, right?
Yes,
Jump
change is
against it.
scary,
Yeah.
especially when it's fast. And I
Mm.
can I can totally understand that. Every tool, I read a book, and so this is a quote from someone, and I cannot remember the name, but I'll just say that it's not mine. That every tool can be used as a weapon. It can either be used for good or bad. And it's like a car, like a car is a tool, but people can run people over with cars. A hammer's a tool to use to build a house, but people can smash someone in the head with a hammer. Now, I'm not saying that we should go and run people over and smash people in the head, or hack into things using AI or pretend that we're something that we're not. But there is always a period with new technology where bad things happen because the government's too friggin' slow
Yes.
to do something about it. But hopefully, AI can help the government do things faster once
Yes.
they finally decide to do the things.
Yeah. Oh, there's pray. Let's just pray. Let's just pray that that's what happens.
And I
Oh my
think they will.
goodness.
It's just we're in the messy middle right now.
Yeah,
But I
totally.
think it's important to have those conversations. So anyone that does have those thoughts, happy for you to have those thoughts. But also remember, we need to start thinking differently because it's happening. Whether you want it or not, it is happening. And also, how can you best utilize it to benefit you?
Yeah.
Because whether you want to get on that train or not, it's going.
Mm. And I just love this. There's so many iterations of how people are utilizing it in their day that just blows me away. Like I just love hearing about how people are utilizing it in their day, right through to like, oh, I put in, I asked her to come up with 5 different recipes for dinners for this week, and then asked it to write the shopping list, and then asked it to then connected it to my shopping cart, and then like I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, it was done in 10 minutes, and then I didn't have to leave the couch, and I was like, oh my God, that is so good. Like I just there's so many different iterations that I'm hearing about it. So I'd love to know like how does AI show up in your day? Can you give us a little bit of an idea of like how you utilize it throughout a day? Like if you give us an idea of like paint that picture of that day of one day in your life of how you utilize AI.
One of the things that is kind of outside of my work is I have Alexa at home. And oh gosh, I've just said her name. So she might be like, sorry, what
Yes.
is it that you want? So she helps me. I can talk out what I want to do. Also on my phone, you can talk to your phone and I won't say the name because you can say, hey, da, da, da,
Yeah.
add this to this. And all of that is AI. And then you can't, like this person has obviously said to you, you can then get it to connect to certain apps and do things for you. I hate going to the shops. I
Mm.
absolutely freaking hate it. So Amazon and Woolworths online, like my favorite things, because I can just be like, right, I need this. Hey, so and so, again, not saying the name. Can you please find this? It finds it. Can you please add to cart? Awesome, done. And I haven't even actually had to touch anything. And then I use it, obviously, I use it for work all the time. So whenever I'm working on anything, really, I will be using ChatGPT and I'll just have it there. If I'm out for a walk, I quite often have ideas when I'm out for a walk, right? And I don't want to stand there and type it into my notes. So I have a conversation with ChatGPT because you can voice message. And I'm like, hey, I've got this idea. I'm just letting you know while I'm out for a walk. Can you just retain this? And then I come back and then it's in my ChatGPT, it's on my computer, and I can during the day, I can kind of go back to it. And the idea is there for me. You can also use Motion. So it's really annoying that these platforms have got similar names. There's Notion, Motion, and Use Motion. But it's Use Motion that I'm talking about is what I use for my project management.
Mhm.
And I can connect my phone voice chat. Name starts with an S, not saying it because it's right there and
Yeah,
it's going to start
yeah,
doing things,
yeah.
and tell it to add it to my motion board. And then it's in my motion board without. So if I have a thought, I'm like, oh, I need to make sure that that gets added as a task, that gets added in. And so I've got it on my project management.
Oh my God, I need to do that more. That would just honestly, there's so many things that I forget to add to my to-do list because I just don't write them down, but I have the thought.
Yeah.
I love that.
Writing
Thank
them
you.
down is so annoying. But yeah, if you've got an iPhone, you can just, because she
Yeah.
connects with Use Motion.
Mhm.
And what else? Oh, even like camping trips. So I had a camping trip earlier this year and it ended up being not great weather. And I used ChatGPT to help me plan out all of the things that I might need to take, a list, the food we were going to eat. It was quite funny when I said we were Australian because it came up with like all these American ideas for food. And I was like, we're Australian. Then it was like Vegemite sandwiches. But it helped me come up with games for the road trip. It researched like card games we could play if we were sitting in the tent while it was raining. It made a whole lot of
Good.
camping jokes, which were terrible, but like good dad jokes
Yeah.
for us. And yeah, and so then while I was away, I just had this thread on ChatGPT of all these things that I could refer back to. And it was amazing.
So good. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. And so, if there's anything in particular that you would love business owners to start adopting, like what would be the first step to start adopting within their business to take out a few extra hours a week?
Honestly, just start with ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I think you will see so many ads for so many different types of AI. There is literally over 20,000 applications, and most of them are glorified ChatGPT. So, for example, Sintra AI, which is something you might have seen around, is literally built on OpenAI. And that's because OpenAI has got an open platform. That's their whole intent and purpose, is so that you can build things on it. That Sintra have taken and they create bots on there for you, and then they sell it to you. And you pay a lot more than what you'd pay for ChatGPT to access it, but you could just create it on ChatGPT yourself for a lot less. And so start with ChatGPT and really nail it, because once you can start to get a really good outcome from ChatGPT, you will have learned things that are also going to help you communicate better with other forms of AI. If you don't love ChatGPT, the other options, there's obviously heaps of options. So the one I like the most at the moment is Perplexity. Perplexity it's great for research, because it's a lot better connected to real-time internet, but it
Mhm.
also has spaces on it, which ChatGPT doesn't have currently. Depending on when this episode comes out, ChatGPT is about to release 5.0, and I'm hoping that they have spaces, because at the moment you just have like a thread after thread after thread, and then you've got to go refind. Like if you've got something from 3 months ago that you want to find, you're like, I am never going to find this now because I use it 25 times a day. So Perplexity's created like these folders, which is really helpful. But just nail that first and use YouTube. Like I shared the other day. I mean, I charge money to teach people AI, but if you really want to and you don't want to pay, go and use YouTube and you can learn so much. That's how I learned. And yes, I've spent hours and hours and months learning it. So it is quicker to potentially pay someone and learn from someone who can just kind of
Yeah.
succinctly put it into one place. But honestly, I just basically swapped out my evening scroll to watching YouTube videos for 6 months. And I still do that because things are always changing.
Yeah.
But you just need to nail that one thing. And that in itself, just using ChatGPT effectively could save you 10 hours a week without having to learn all the other things yet.
Yes, yet. Yes, that's it. But at least allowing yourself just to dive back in. So if you've been someone that has started with it but then kind of gave up on it, go back and actually start building it out so that it actually works for you. Because I feel like that's one of the things that stops people from really adopting it effectively is they kind of gave up because it felt a little bit hard or it wasn't really pumping out what they really needed, but just get better at actually utilizing it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think we're really impatient
Yeah,
generally speaking. In
totally.
2024, we're like, if I'm not good at it straight away, then I'm just not doing it or it's shit. But I mean, I said this to you before we hit record. If your output from AI is not what you want it to be, it's not the AI, it's you. Sorry, not sorry. You haven't given it the information. I mean, yes, there is an element of, it's trained based on what it's been trained on, and that's very much, white men from Silicon Valley. So there
Mm.
is some things that need to be edited, but if it's not giving you at least a 90% output of what you want, then it's you. The rest of the 10% is on you anyway, because we need humans, and that's a good thing.
Yes, 100%. 100% agree with you. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us today, Em. It's been absolutely such a joy chatting with you. I really appreciate it. If there's anything that you would love to share, like a last piece of advice when it comes to taking your business to the next level for someone listening, what would you say?
I would say, oh, one thing, if I could, let's say one thing,
You can say
fail
multiple.
forward. Fail forward is the number one thing that I would say to anyone who wants to take their business to the next level. It's something that I have done. I've failed so many times at so many things. Like I've had failed launches and I've had six-figure launches. If you fail, it's an opportunity to learn. And it's the same with AI. You might get an output that you're like, oh, that's a fail. Awesome. What can you learn from that? What can you take forward in order to take yourself to the next level? And that's one of the biggest skills. And it's one of the ones I instill with my kids, because it's like, great, you've had a failure. Celebrate what you learned from that failure when you've felt the emotions. Because sometimes it's okay to be like, oh my God, I suck and I'm going to cry myself to sleep tonight. But tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up and be like, let's go.
Yes, I love that. Such great advice. 100% agree with you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing your goodness and authenticity with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.